Hi, it's Christina Weng from Baylor College of Medicine, and I'd like to welcome you to the Retina TLDR, where we tackle the most topical issues in the retina space with leading experts in the field. What a pleasure today to welcome here a very special guest and longtime friend, Dr. David Eichenbaum from Retina Vitreous Associates of Florida in Tampa and collaborative associate professor of ophthalmology at the University of South Florida. More recently, he has also become a friendly competitor in the amateur podcasting space as the host of Eichenbaum Acorns. But hey, David, isn't competition always good?
I call it more collaborator, but we can all use different C's to describe the podcasting.
Perfectly describes our perspectives and how they sometimes contrast. So, welcome, David. Thanks so much for being here. So, those of you who've watched these episodes know that they typically start off asking our guest for their TLDR. But since David and I today are going to discuss all sorts of jibber jabber, I'm going to pivot a little bit, David, and ask you to
Mhm.
start by sharing the most important principle that's helped you achieve professional success.
So many years ago, I wrote one of these 5Q columns about a similar question. What is the thing that makes a successful retina specialist? I think that all the successful retina specialists I know only have one gear, which is drive. It's like sixth gear. They are always going. Doesn't mean they're always moving or traveling or not in one, but they're always going. Either they're seeing patients vigorously in vigorous clinicians, and then they have to answer email, and then they do a call, and then they're presenting in meetings, and then they're writing a paper, and then they're working on slides, and they enjoy it. They have a high drive, and they're moving forward quickly, and they enjoy that process. That's the secret. Keep your transmission in sixth gear and you'll be fine.
I love that. And it ties so nicely into one of your hobbies. I learned that about you a few years ago, you and your
Yeah.
cars.
Yeah, I like old cars and standard shifts. I'm teaching my daughter to drive standard shift, mostly so she doesn't run into anything while she's playing with her phone, since you must play with your phone less if you're going to go forward in a standard shift.
That's so funny. My dad offered me that too over the holidays, and I've yet to take him up on that. So one of these days. But I love that principle. It's so inspiring and so true. And let's talk a little bit about it because you have reached
Mhm.
professional success in so many different ways, and we'll hit on some of those today. You're very well known, first of all, for your work in clinical trials. How did you get interested in that, David?
So thank you. I do love clinical trials. It's probably the single most joyful thing that I do is drug development, and not just the seeing of the clinical trial patients and talking to them about trials, but the whole thing. The people, the not just retina specialists, the pharma people are a huge part of this. Some of the brightest and best people I know in the field are on the pharma side and the science side or the strategy side, different aspects of it. Um, and that whole aspect of my career is a lot of fun. What inspired me to do it was actually my training. I was incredibly inspired as a fellow working with Jeff Heyer at Ophthalmic Consultants of Boston and with Jay Duker and Elias Reichel at Tufts New England Eye Center. It was a combined fellowship at that point in 2005 when I started it. And those are the folks who inspired me. And those folks still do drug development. I still work with Jeff Heyer, Jay Duker, Elias Reichel, Caroline Baumel, so many of my mentors in drug development and in commercial drug strategy and in commercial drug scientific data interpretation, all of that with all the same people, 18 years later, 20 years later, those are the people and they stay around. And I love how the relationship has kind of grown. I'd say matured. Some of them may say it has not matured, but it's still a great relationship 20 years later.
Yeah, it's so true, and I like to joke that I'm always competing to try to catch up with you. But, in fact, one of the most beautiful things in our field is how collaborative we all are. And it's a wonderful way to remember that we can not only collaborate with each other, but also with our pharmaceutical partners, our device partners, et cetera. And that's really how progress is made. So I really appreciate you saying that. And
Mhm.
what an inspiring group. Those are all some of my heroes as well.
And you've done a lot of this in leadership. We talked recently when we chatted for the other pod, for my pod, about your leadership in Protocol AO. I mean, it's remarkable. You could do so many different things with moving the field forward. You have surgical technology, you have device technology, you have pharmaceutical technology, you have combinations of that, like cell therapy, which is a little bit of a couple of those things. So it's pretty cool what you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some of the trials that sort of have caught your eye and that you're looking forward to the readouts of, in the next year or two?
Yeah, so it's really funny. The stuff I'm most excited about has the least data. I think that's true because you haven't seen the problems yet. But I'm super excited about cell therapy. I think we're in the phase two Genentech OpRegen lineage trial, which I think has a ton of promise. There are like 20 cohorts planned. They're still in the early days, but we're going to use some cool delivery technology in addition to transvitreal subretinal technology. And that has the potential to restore vision. Cell therapy, not just OpRegen lineage, but cell therapy as a class has the potential to restore vision. And we just saw Frank Holtz's publication on PRISM, the subretinal device for geographic atrophy. So I love that type of technology. Again, early days, his trial had 30 something patients in it, not all of whom returned for follow-up, OpRegen lineage, early days. Very exciting, though. Of course, in late phase, we're all excited to see the card flips for the gene therapy studies. We have Regenx Bio, we have 4DMT, which is still enrolling. We have Adverum, which is enrolled one trial, looking to start another this year. And then we have the tyrosine kinase inhibitors looking at a different MOA. We're all excited to see the vastly different development programs for a similar drug from Ocular Therapeutics and EyePoint develop and deliver data. So all of that is cool, but I'm very excited about the stuff that's to come. And I think that's one of the things that makes me a clinical trialist. The best is always yet to come. I think for the rest of my career, I'll believe the best is yet to come, which is kind of a fun place to come from, I think.
Yeah, it's fantastic that we have made so many advancements in recent years in our space. Switching gears just a little bit, one of the other areas that you're very invested in professionally is as a mentor to others. And I think there's a lot of people who admire you and your legacy that you've created for yourself already in your early, mid-career as a mentor to others. In fact, I won't mention his name, but I was talking with someone the other day and he told me that he was actually trying to establish a trials program in his practice and cold called you, and you
Mhm.
helped guide him through the entire process and how grateful he was. And I know you do this for a lot of our
Yeah.
junior colleagues. And I have to call out that you've also been a tremendous ally for elevating women in our field.
Mhm.
What motivates you to do this, David?
Well, it's a great question, and I appreciate it, and I especially appreciate that you called me early mid-career because I do still feel very young. I'm
You
49
are.
years old. I feel very young, but so what? And I do love mentorship, and I do love elevating retina specialists, and I do love elevating especially retina specialists who are underrepresented. Whatever the underrepresentation is, it ought to be supported in our field. So, what inspired me to do it? What inspired me to do it is I never would have had the opportunities that I got if mentors of mine didn't support me. I did not come from an extraordinarily prestigious academic background. I was a public high school graduate, a public university, public medical school. One of my mentors in my residency program at the University of South Florida was a huge advocate for me to help me get my fellowship, which is the most prestigious academic thing that I did in my training. And the people that allowed me those opportunities and allowed me opportunities after fellowship were my mentors. And I feel like if I can pay that back by helping folks who are looking for opportunities, it's only giving back what I was provided. And I think that's the right thing to do. So my experience is what the inspiration is. Just because you're not from an Ivy League college doesn't mean you're not going to be an incredibly hardworking and productive and uh, patient-centric clinician and clinical scientist. You should have an opportunity if you're willing to put the work in. And I'm willing to help everyone out and give them all the path to success. And, if someone's willing to put the work in, I'll be there to back them up.
Yeah, I love that. And paying it forward, especially when it comes to mentoring others and future generations in our field. So we are all better for it because of our mentors. The way you and I got to know each other was primarily through our work with AbbVie's development
Mhm.
program, which is called Emerging Experts. But you've actually been involved with industry in a lot of different ways, as we sort of briefly mentioned at the start of this recording. What's driving your work, especially when you already have a very full plate? You've got your
Mhm.
practice, research, mentoring others. What keeps you going in terms of your other leg in industry as well?
Yeah, so that is true. Our friendship has grown over the last decade or so through the AbbVie Emerging Leaders Now Emerging Experts program, which I love because you and I are all about mentorship, and
So fun.
you teach residents and fellows, and dovetails right into what we both love. So it's super cool. So why do I keep doing an industry? What is my why? It's a couple of things. Number one, it's a strategy to never get bored. I do not feel any touch of burnout in my career. I think because I do a lot of different stuff with retina. And the second is it's the people. I am addicted to people. I love the opportunity to go to meetings and have friends and have a common sort of, even though we're all coming to it from different perspectives and have different motivators and have different sort of driving forces. We're all aiming at the same target. And I like being part of that group and having that group around. And that's why I go to between 6 and 9 retina meetings a year, depending on the year, plus various other one-offs, advisory boards, commercial things, so on and so forth, because it's an opportunity to be with people who are like-minded. And I think that's a great way to continue to love your career. And the industry piece for me is how I do it.
You make such a great point. I think whether it's with industry or mentorship or clinical trials, whatever floats your
Mhm.
boat, keeping your career colorful with a lot of
Mhm.
different types of work is definitely an antidote to burnout. And I feel very much the same with all the different moving parts in my career as well.
Yeah, yours is at least maybe probably even more of a full calendar than I've got. So it's the same type of stuff, and that's one of the reasons that I think I have good vibes with you. We both come to this from the same place, which is super fun.
Yeah, it's really fun to be busy, and I think we both love the work we do, and certainly it shows on your part. So I appreciate your comments on that. David, as I mentioned at the start, you recently started your own podcast called
Mhm.
Eichenbaum Acorns,
Yeah,
and congratulations. I,
thanks.
I, I've listened to all your episodes. They're absolutely fantastic. As we wrap up, tell our listeners the story behind the name of your podcast. I really like that
Sure. Well, it's no TLDR, but I'll tell you Eichenbaum. So Eichenbaum, my last name is most likely a Yiddish name. All four of my grandparents were immigrants from Eastern Europe, and my paternal grandfather's family name was Eichenbaum. He was fortunately, his father, who was the immigrant, was fortunately literate and could write it in Ellis Island, which was good. And it means acorn tree. Eichenbaum is acorn tree. And acorns, you plant little acorns and they grow into these tremendous oaks. And my father was very excited, always excited about invoking oak trees and acorns and things like that. And it's kind of a way to remember that great things grow from little seeds. It's part of my etymology of my name, and it's a little bit of honor thy father and mother. It's a bit of a callback to the stuff that my dad would always have as like license plates and passwords and stuff like that. He always have oaks and acorns and things like that. So it's really fun to have it in a pot. And thank you for asking about that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a wonderful nod to your lineage as well. So
Mhm.
we'll leave the link below to Eichenbaum Acorns so that listeners can go check out Eichenbaum Acorns, that podcast. Don't forget to especially check out my episode. Thanks for having me on recently.
Certainly, I was happy to have you on. And I know TLDR is it's a super fun name. It doesn't need all the explanation of Eichenbaum acorns, and it's very topical in the modern era. And I'm grateful to be here and be on your show. I think this is a fun way to talk about things with each other and have everyone have a listen and see how we think and what we're like, which is cool.
Yeah, always fun chatting with you about all these topics that make you you. Thank you, David, for joining us today. Look forward to working together throughout 2026.
It's a pleasure. Me too. Thank you, Christina. Take care.
Absolutely. Thanks. Well, we've just kicked off season 2 of the Retina TLDR, and we're very interested in your feedback. So please reach out with any feedback through the contact included below. In the meantime, I'm your host, Christina Weng, and we'll see you next time on the Retina TLDR.